Hey, shalom, shalom. All right, first and foremost, before I get started, I'm going to give all honor and glory and power to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Wadash. I want to say double honors to our elders, our great apostles, great millstones, GMS, who rule well and teach well, being an example to Israel. All right, man, the elect. I want to say peace and blessings to the hopefully elect on the four corner, pushing the truth and sincerity. All right, the great song is your brother Ba. I just come with a little quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, just to show you, all right, according to the scriptures, all right, that how the power that be is losing their grip. All right, and when I mean losing their grip was secrecy. All right, and now we're at the time that these devils are being exposed, not by only through the prophets in the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai, but even their own people. As in Psalms, the 64th chapter, their own tongue should fall upon themselves. So how beautiful that we can see these things happening before our eyes, as it's been stated and written in the scriptures beforehand. Kahala Yabashma Shah for that. Now I'm playing this video. I got a couple precepts, and I'm gonna try to tie it in with America and Babylon the Great, how they've been weary in their counsel. They shaking, so they gotta continue to make these psyops and false flags events to continue to control the minds of the people and get them out what's important or what's about to happen dealing with this NWO. So I'm gonna play this video a couple minutes. Lord willing, y'all brothers and sisters be edified. While I lay loud down. Check this out.
Your thoughts on how protocol...
And also, Salaki, this is only for education purposes only, fair use.
...was followed by the Secret Services as this unfolded. So let's have a look at the moment that the US President was taken under the care of the security services, and then I'll get your view on it afterwards. So with your background, just tell us what was enforced here.
Thanks for having me on. It was quite textbook. From the moment you hear the shots fired, probably at that moment, the agents that were dealing with the subject probably voiced over the radio what was going on and that shots were fired. Thus, you see the security team going into play, agents go in front of the president, and also the tactical team, counter-assault team, go into place with those are the men with the helmets and the rifles going to protect the president from tactical threats, and you see them go up online in case they need to engage an attacker. You see them get him down first, kind of shelter in place, and then make the call to have him move off the stage. You see President Trump fall and stumble and literally hit the ground, and I'm wondering if some agents may have thought he might have got injured or even shot unbeknownst to them, but they were able to get him up and get him off the stage rather rapidly. This is what it looks like, and at this moment for the Secret Service, this is a combat zone. They don't know what's really happening. They don't get the full picture. They just need to know that they have to go, and that's what they got over the radio. So everything to me looks textbook. They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, Barry, that's interesting. The body barrier, the human shield, they're providing the president there. And even the way they protected him, almost forcing him onto the ground, that's not something we saw 2 years ago, is it?
Well, if you look at Butler, Pennsylvania, he did hit the deck first. He did originally hit the ground first, because that's the safest thing any of us could do until we figure out what our next plan is, whether it's to stay down or get off the stage. But ultimately, they got to get him out of there. They don't know if there's any other assailants. There could be 10 more people with guns coming, and that's all the more reason why they just got to get them off that stage. And you saw them get J.D. Vance off the stage as well, and all the respective protective details of all the cabinet members moved into play to get them out of there. They certainly don't want to have a gun battle in front of 1,000 people where innocent people could be hit. So smarter to get out of there and get out in force, get behind some protective barriers if you can, and get the president to safety.
Barry, let's have a look at...
Stage. All right. There was a stage event Esau is getting sloppier and sloppier. Okay? So let's go into some precepts. Sloppy. And I'm going to play this video, and you're going to see how it just all... Man, Esau sloppy. This is Isaiah 47:13. It said, "Thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsel. Let now the astrologers, the strangers, the monthly prosecutors stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee." And that's why he got to throw the rock and hide his hand. You know, he got to constantly make false events, psyops. He got to constantly, play psychological warfare on the minds of the people. All right, why? Because his power, which was secrecy, is now being revealed. He can't hide it no more. You see? And that's very important in his time to control the world with secrecy. But now, as the scripture says in 2 Thessalonians, all right? Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. This is 2 Thessalonians. I think it's 2:6. Let me see. There you go. It says, "And now ye know that withholdeth that he may be revealed in his time." See, this is the time now that the wicked is being revealed. No matter how hard he try, all right, to control the narrative, it's always been, brought out. That he is the starter. All right, he is the instigator. He is the procrastinator. All right, Esau is he. See? So it said, "For the mysteries of iniquity though already work. Only he who now let it will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth." And that's why they trying to get rid of, the prophets. But they doing it in a way as a snake. All right, they doing it in a way that they gonna blame the people. All right, they set up these agents. They set up, these false Israelite camps to do, bullshit to have the ministry blamed. But it's all towards the true prophets. They're bringing out, all right, the shameful spirit of his glory. You see? So the spirit of the mouth is the prophets, which is exposing this devil. See, when you look at certain people that be speaking on certain things in the world, long as they don't tie into the Bible, they don't get counsel. They don't get, a lot of things don't happen to them. But once they start to line everything up with the scriptures, and that's when they, begin to fall. And one person to speak of is Eddie Griffin. He got a show. All right, he bring out most of the same information that we bring out, like corner-wise, but he don't link it up with the Bible. And that's what the prophet job is to do. Link up current history with the scriptures to make sense of it, what times we are in. All right? But it said, "And shall be destroyed with the brightness of his coming." It said, "Even him whoso coming is not the working of Satan, adversary, with all power, signs, and lying wonders." And that's exactly what we're seeing by this devil. He got these signs, pseudo signs, going to the lying wonders. All right, and he playing on the minds of the people, and a lot of people fall to this. A lot of people being drawn onto this as it is real, but we know it's not real. We know it's a psyop. We know this shit fake. We know what he's doing. We're not ignorant to Satan's devices. All right? Now, let's play this video, and I'm going to get into the Nebuchadnezzar part. Check this out. It's cold there. It's cold. All right? But we understand that these devils is weary. All right? They know they had no but a short time. All right? So I want to line this up. All right? Let me get to Job 20 and 20. This is Job 20 and 20. It says, surely he shall not fear quietness in his belly. He should not save of which he desire. Because remember, when you go in the song, it said that they heart desire that their houses shall continue forever, from generation to generation. And that's why he think that he gonna come back out and rule after they destroy America. All right. He think they gonna come back out when the smoke clears and run the world. All right, with this technology. But it says, surely he shall not fear quietness in his belly, and their belly ties it to his mind. All right, and we know that Babylon the Great, all right, will be destroyed. But we know in the time of the Babylonian with Nebuchadnezzar, he didn't feel quietness in his belly, you know, because he received a dream. And Eliashawama had mentioned that when he did the lesson with Apostle Ramlab and Apostle Ramlab, Apostle Gabar, and he had mentioned how Punch Pilate, I think he said Punch Pilate, his wife had a dream about Yahweh Shai. All right, and you think these devils ain't having dreams? You think these devils ain't the Most High Yahweh ain't plaguing the minds of these devils? You know, and then when I had heard that, they brought me to the time of Nebuchadnezzar when he had the dream. Let's get to it. This is Daniel 2. All right, and 1, it said, in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, all right, the dream, where his spirit was troubled, and he slept, we said, and his sleep break from him. So he was having trouble because he was seeing a vision, all right, of 4 major empires. You know, he received that vision. All right, and when you jump down, and it said the same thing right here in verse 2, as it said in Isaiah. Ooh, that's cold. As the Isaiah 47 and 13. Look, then the kings commanded to call the magician and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the kings his dream. So they came and stood before the kings. You see that? So when Esau realizing now that his witchcraft is wearing off, his sorcery is wearing off, his enchantment is wearing, everything is wearing off. That shit like when a phone, you know, you charge your phone up to 100%, now that bitch on 13, you know, and then now it's dragging. You can't watch certain things, and you know that's what's happening to Esau. Everything is wearing out. The Most High Yahweh is pulling that power from him, because it's the time. It's time now, you know, that he's gonna be found naked and wanted. All right, and saying the king said unto them, I had a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. All right, and so in that time, Nebuchadnezzar was troubled in his sleep. So now these devils, they are troubled in mind. Why? Because they know they have no but a short time, and they seeing the vision of Yahweh Shema shall return. That's why so much uproar is about these so-called UFO sightings. They want to make up this and that about the UFOs. Yeah, we got extraterrestrial beings living on our... They weary in their council, you know, which is a beautiful thing. And these devils is doing any and everything to keep the minds of the people off what's really important to their salvation. You know, I just want to speak on that. Lord willing, y'all brothers and sisters edified. Next time, Shalom, Papa Barbara Akakim, and the Lord team bless y'all day.